Hello guys and welcome to today's video. Today we're back finally. It's almost probably been a year, maybe almost two, or at least definitely 18 months since our last ranking videos. It's good to be back. I'm enjoying making the videos and I feel like this is definitely going to be a lot of fun going through the champs, sort of who I think now makes the top 10. I like to do my top 10s a bit different to other creators. I will pick 10. I won't say like, oh, tied for 9th or tied for 6th, and then you ends up being a top 15. I just don't, it's not very useful to have a top 10 of 15 champs. What I will say is, disclaimers before we start, I don't know every champ. I do know every champ in the game, obviously I know them off the top of my head, but I don't know how to... I don't play every single one the same amount. I might have biases to one champ and not another, but when I explain that champ and their positioning, I will say I don't play this champ too much, but I've seen, X, Y, Z, or I play this champ quite a lot, which is why I like him over this other champ, or anything. So there will be a bit of information. They are my opinion. If you disagree, obviously you don't have to leave hate, just leave what you would change in the comments down below and we can have a little discussion. That would be a lot of fun. If you do enjoy these videos, please do leave a like and subscribe. We will be going through tech, mutant, cosmic skills, science, mystic, and then we'll do a top 10 champs in the game. We'll just do a top 10 for that last of all champs in the game, so that will be quite a good video to look forward to as well. So again, I've been out of the game for a while. I've played for the last sort of 2 months. There are champions like, say, Arcade and North Star aren't included in this video just because they're too new. I don't want to rank them. I've not played them. It just wouldn't be fair, really. So without any further ado, we'll jump into tech and we'll start with my 10th champion. It'd probably be easier, if possible, to sort them alphabetically, which is what I'm going to do. So at number 10, we'll start with our honourable mentions, champions I really like, who I think could be in the top 10 or could definitely reach. If we look at champs that I've not got, Ironheart and Guardian, two very strong champions that I play Guardian. I've got him as a 7-star, great champ, enjoying him quite a lot, especially as a defender. Ultron, you guys know, Ultron is one of my favourite champs in the whole game. If I got him as a 7-star, I'd immediately rank 3 him. I just love him. I might even rank up this 6-star Ultron because of how much I do enjoy him. That is potentially on the cards, but because he has got a 7-star version, although quite rare, I would be potentially going to wait. But yeah, that might be my next big tech upgrade. Stark Spidey, given that he's now a 7-star, I'm pretty sure he's a 7-star anyway. Let's have a look, shall we? As 7 stars, is Stark Spidey an option? He is. Great champ, could do a lot of damage, quite useful. And then finally, as an honourable mention, one of my favourite tech champs because of the way he plays is Infamous Iron Man. I do really enjoy Infamous Iron Man. He can shut down a lot, prowesses. The energy damage he does is really nice, and the fact that if they're shock immune, he just builds energy vulnerabilities is also an interesting mechanic. If you think any of those champs should be in, I would argue for them as well. Is my list, but obviously I do want to put a bit of realism in as well. So at number 10 is the first champ who recently has had a buff. I've not been able to play him too much, but I do understand how good he can be, and he is definitely one that I struggled with putting where in the top 10. I knew he was going to be my top 10. He has landed at 10, but to be fair, I honestly think, looking at the list now, he could even be as low as 7 or as high as 7. And 10 is about as low as he is, but in December, in our next one, December 24, there could be a little change there, and that champion is, who I've not got, it's Red Skull. So Red Skull's recently had his buff. Already, he was pretty useless. People loved fighting Red Skull. As you guys know, he was just Gallon fodder. If Red Skull was on the path, you'd take a Gallon in and you'd absolutely smoke him as long as you didn't hit into the block. Now, He's become much of a much better attacker, and the auto block that he has on defense is a lot more annoying because it just basically forces you into hitting into his block. Red Skull, I don't know too. Like I said, I've not played his buff too much. He's relatively new for me, in the sense that he got buffed when I wasn't playing, so I've had to go back and watch some videos on him, and he just looks like he could do massive damage. He's got very good survivability, and the auto block does allow you to just power burn anyone who really hits into your block. Really, the premise of it is build up armor ups. You either get armor ups from every 10th hit, if he is awakened, every 10th basic attack. You do start with 5 indefinite ones, and when you gain a bar of power, or your opponent, you do gain an armor up buff. So it's relatively easy to gain armor up buffs. It's also, once you've got that, your attack rate and your critical resistance and your energy resistance are much lower, and like your stun ability accuracy is minus 10% from the opponent. So just, you know what I mean, he's very simple to use. He can do big damage, and the buff has really helped him out. Both the SP1 and the SP2, the fact that the SP1 could go auto block and the SP2 unstoppable was just a nice part of his kit, and he is a very great champ. Moving on to 9 is a champion that, again, potentially Red Skull could be over him, but because I've got Guardian as a 7-star, and you know, I'm enjoying playing with him. I didn't realise the sort of damage that he can do, and he's just a very good defender. I have managed to put him at 9. Basically, Guardian on defence is quite annoying. Most of your special attacks are auto-blocked by him. You can't do as much damage as quickly. He does have a Dexable SP1, which isn't too much of a problem, but if it does hit you, it can do a bit of damage. But the thing that I've sort of learned with Guardian is he can also be very good on attack. If you throw 1 SP1 and you build up your... no, I can't remember what they're called. Your force field charges, that's it. And then you throw your SP2 with those with sort of 5 or 4 force field charges active. You do end up doing so much damage. You take up you do a lot of energy damage, and it takes out opponents very quickly, which I didn't realize he had. He has got one of the best energy resistances in the whole game. So against champs like Onslaught, he's very useful. Bishop, those type of champions. But then the good thing about Guardians, you don't only need him for mutants. You can use him for, you know, even his class disadvantage of cosmic champions. But he's very useful for those annoying mystic defenders who do a lot of energy damage. So Guardian's in here. I do like him a lot. He could be switched with Red Skull. Do let me know down in the comments. But he comes in at number 9. At number 8, we've got another 7-star, and it's Hulkbuster. Again, Hulkbuster and the guy in 7th could be replaced. Hulkbuster at 8, I think, is potentially a bit low, but given that he doesn't really offer much as a defender other than that annoying shock, he is doing big damage, and you do have to sort of hit through the block with your unblockable to do that damage. He's very easy to use. The stun, the power burn, the power lock. It's very simple rotation for Hulkbuster. I do like him a lot. It potentially could go higher, definitely higher than maybe the champ above him. But the champ above him is an old reliable, has been number 1 for a long time, but the meta is seeing him full. Hulkbuster comes at 8, very good champ. If you've got him, definitely, of all the 7-star techs, I would say Hulkbuster, Arcade, Red Skull, and then of course Shuri and Warlock are the main ones you want to be ranking up. But Hulkbuster is a great option for your battlegrounds fights where he just does massive damage very quickly. So now we're moving back to a 6-star only, and that's probably why he has fallen. He used to be one of the best champs in the game. He used to be very high on this list. You know, I'm looking back. December 22, I had him 2nd. April 23, I had him 2nd. There are champs who potentially don't have the kit he has, but being 7-star now with that extra damage, yeah, okay, your Ascended Nimrod might be very useful, but there are a lot of mutant killers now, like a Nimrod, and when it comes to taking on Mystic, Science, Skill champs, Nimrod just isn't as useful as these other champs are in taking those sort of cross-class fights that don't have class advantage. And that's probably why, to me, he's fallen at 7. That and his 6-star only exclusivity does mean that he has fallen. Perhaps if he ever comes as a 7-star, we will see him rise again. I'm definitely sure of that. But I think, for a moment, somebody like Iron Man, given his recent buff, does what Nimrod does, but he does it at probably a much higher level. And for that reason, I'd say that Nimrod has fallen to 7. At 6, we've got another champ who is available as a 7-star, but again, quite rare as a 7-star, but is very, very good and can do big damage. Like Guardian, Shocker doesn't crit, which is really nice. He is also shock immune. He can be an annoying defender. He's not too tricky. I know he is coming in the incursions soon, so we'll be able to see on that how tricky he really is. But it's just the fact that a couple SP1s, if you've got them at high sig, fights can literally take 20 seconds in Battlegrounds. Given that Battlegrounds is now a very, very popular mode, being fast-paced and being able to do big damage against any class type, he doesn't need... prowesses help him out and he gains a vibro shock charge, but they don't need to have... You can fight a science, you can fight a skill with Shocker, and it doesn't really make a difference. I think that sort of flexibility and adaptability does make it a lot easier to put Shocker higher up in this list than, say, a Nimrod or even a Guardian. His big heavy attacks are great. His ease of use is really, really handy, and that auto block on special attacks when you're above 50 shock charges is just massive while attacking, because if they're unblockable or mainly you take a hit, to just fall into that auto block is yes, it's really, really kind mechanic, and it does help you out a load. Shocker, very, very fun champ to use. You do need high sigs, potentially why he's not as high as he could be, but I think Shocker coming in at 6 is very fair and potentially could even go a little bit higher up. 5, we've got the old trusted, again as a 7-star. I think the rest of these champions are all 7-stars. Or that's not actually true, so I take that back. 2 of them aren't, but for a minute we are on to them, and that is Warlock. Having just done all of Act 8, you realise how useful Warlock actually is. The fact of preventing the regens, being able to control power with his power drains, the big SP2 damage that he can do, the fact that he's a robot, so he's immune to a lot of different things, does make Warlock just completely like a massive handful. He's annoying on defense with that degeneration. He is quite a multi-use champs. Again, you can use him against skills, sciences, mystics, who, if they're healing, he's probably one of the best counters, because his heal block is so easy to get on and it's not classed as a heal block. So in quest nodes, he's just an absolute king. I do think the fact that he is a 7-star has meant he has come back onto this list. He's fallen a place since my last list, but that was when they were all 6 stars. Now as a 7-star, he's right. He has potentially fallen with the addition of some new champs, but I genuinely think that Warlock is one of those champs where you see them as a 7-star and you really think it's good that he's come out as a 7-star, because it shows that they're willing to, Kabam are willing to push the boat out on who they have as 7-stars. They will bring out champions who are sort of the top in their class, and I think Warlock definitely offers that. Very versatile, great against all different types of champs, and honestly, I think everyone could do with a Warlock in their deck, because he can just shut off those things that are super annoying in quests, and given that Act 9 is coming soon, I think Warlock will be very useful. Excuse me, I do have a cold, so that is the sniffing and the potential change in voice. But we are now in our top 4. At 4 is Iron Man with his buff. This may be a little high, and I would understand if you guys think it's a bit high, and perhaps like a Warlock, a Shocker, even Hulkbuster, even Red Skull could go above this Iron Man. But I do think what he offers is, especially questing, is massive. Him in war, in quests, even in battlegrounds, really, as taking down mutants, he's just super useful. The armor ups, the amount of armor ups he can get, the increased potency, blocking unblockable special attacks from mutants. Bishops, Havocs, those type of champs. He's a great Havoc counter. He is pretty good onslaught counter. Really, I'd say some of the hardest defenders in the game. This Iron Man could take. He's also Iron Man, having been basically an obsolete champion this whole time. On my tier list, I rated him as the worst tech champ on the game because he was crapping when you attacked and he was useless when you put him as a defender. But now it's completely different. He removes prowesses, so he's very useful against mutants, as I've said. The armor breaks, the amount of armor buffs that he gains are really useful in questing to, when you've got the nodes where every armor up that you gain protects you from special attack damage or allows you to increase your attack rating, which this Iron Man does. It just makes him very, very useful, and I do think he's a great champ. He is like a new Nimrod, but probably a bit stronger now. He is also a 7-star. So I think at number 4, he fits that position very, very well. Now we're into our top 3. Potentially a tricky top 3. At 3, I am going to go with a 6-star exclusive champ, and that is Ghost. I personally haven't used Ghost too much. I understand the mechanics. For ages, she's been the best tech champ in the game. I do think she's been overtaken by a champion who is also only a 6-star. But as the game has developed, you're not having as many damaging debuffs put on you for Ghost as potentially you were previous. She's a great Mr. Sinister counter, but how often do you see him on defense these days? She can do massive, massive damage, and if she came as a 7-star, she would be truly broken as probably one of the best champs in the game. But given that she's probably never going to come as a 7-star, and the fact that these two champs above her are much more useful in today's meta, in the meta just gone, not necessarily Battlegrounds meta, but just the game as a whole, the new champs that we're having to fight against, I think Ghost has fallen, but I don't have to say too much about her. She's a great champ. She just don't think meets this top 2. In second, I genuinely think Shuri, when she come out, I really, really liked Shuri when she came out. And then in my April 23, I ranked her as 10th, but I said in that video, I really think she's better than this. I used her a lot when she was a 6-star. I really enjoyed her. I ranked her up to, at the time, I think rank 5s were very rare, rank 4s were the main, and I think I had her as a rank 2 or 3. Long form content, she's amazing with the shocks. The untouchable as a defender makes her very, very annoying. The fact she's shock immune, given how many shock nodes you have going through Act 8 these days. I do think Shuri is an unbelievable champion who has unbelievable damage. For Necropolis, she was I know she was very, very useful. But even in the short form content of just questing, 400k health, she's taken that very, very quickly. Very easy to use. She just has such high block proficiency that you're just not taking too much damage, which is why she's so good on long form content. You can bring her in and realistically you're probably not taking even half the damage you take in your block that you would do on, say, a champ with quite good. She is really that good. The passive shocks, so people, champs can't shrug her off. People, you don't... The thing with Shuri is, I think she is a no class. She doesn't... Fighting against mutants and fighting against science champs, they don't differ. So you could say, as a class advantage, she probably isn't that strong, but in the same breath, she can fight against any class because she doesn't need anything that mutants give her specifically to do really well. She'll fight against mystics, skills, all those type of champions just the same as she would fight against a mutant. I think that makes her really, really useful, because you're not looking at your path or your opponent and saying, oh, I need a mutant to fight Shuri. You can bring her against anyone. Yeah, okay, if the champion she fights against is shock immune, is she potentially a little bit redundant? She definitely gets weaker, but definitely not redundant. I still think she offers quite a lot to you, but I would say that that is probably the reason why she's not at number 1. At number 1, very obvious, you guys already know it, it's Ant-Man Future. He's going up to rank 5. He's Sig 200 for me. Just an unbelievable champ. So easy to use, or quite easy. I'd say quite easy to use. Very fun kit. Really good defender. There's very few champs who can counter him as well, or just very well. You know, there really aren't that many counters to him. I do think that as an attacker, again, he can fight sort of anyone with the power detonations. You just wait for those to come on. You throw your SP2. You take a lot of big chunk of their damage or their health, and you just constantly repeat that. You do have to stay a bit aggressive, but you know, you could glance hits, and that gives you the armor ups the same way to start surging swarm. So even that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be aggressive. I think as a defender, he's one of the best in the game, one of the hardest to fight against. As an attacker, he's very useful. Okay, we'll probably not see him as a 7-star, probably ever, or at least not for a very, very long time. He's not broken, he's just super overpowered, and I do think that is why he's the best tech champ in the game. But, yeah, let me know if you agree with this list down below. Ant-Man Future comes in at 1. I do think he is probably the best tech champion in the game. The fact that at Sig 200, you know, Incinerates and Bleeds just are 10%. The fact that he can't take more than 10% damage without it's just such a strong mechanic to counter people like Gallon, especially as a defender. So I think, yeah, Ant-Man Future comes in at 1. Let me know down below in the comments how you feel about this list. Do you think there are some champs who need to be moved? If you do, let me know down below, and we can have that discussion for sure. Leave a like, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next ranking. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.